Like many of you that tuned in to watch these videos, I have also watched the most recent episode of The Amazing Digital Circus. By far, this has to be one of my most favorite episodes, mostly because of the chaotic mess that was this episode's adventure, provided by Kane just being done. Bro was like, I can't with these humans right now. Other than some pretty entertaining gun violence in a childishly whimsical circus setting, we also got some character depth involving Jax and his, well, what we thought from the previous episode, a budding friendship between him and Pomni. Ragatha did also get her bit of character depth in this episode, and depending on how well this current video does, I may make a video on her in the future, so if you want to see that from me, make sure you hit that like button, as it encourages me to make the videos you want to see. Now for Jax, when it comes to his character, he's been someone that has stirred up quite a bit of controversy within the fan base, with a lot of people who originally loved him from the first episode quickly switching up on him in the second episode. After the release of the episode Candy Carrier Chaos, you had some people claiming that Jax was sexist because it seemed like he was more antagonistic towards the female characters such as Ragatha and Gangle, Zooble, even though I believe Zooble is non-binary, but yeah, Jax doesn't really pick on Kinger as much as he does the other characters like Gangle, Ragatha, and Zooble that I just mentioned. And of course, during the Candy adventure, Pomni was also thrown out of the truck. Speaking on Gangle, she seems to be the person that Jax likes to torment the most, while Zooble, on the other hand, seems like he just enjoys the challenge of trying to get a rise out of them. From his introduction, that's who Jax is based on first impressions. The Jax we know and love for some reason is an aloof, sarcastic jerk. He can come across as pretty abrasive and can be difficult to get along with. He just enjoys causing trouble and harm to NPCs and even the other members of the circus simply because he gets amusement from it. Or at least that's how he sells himself to be. The funny one of the group, some chaotic evil fella that likes causing trouble and being a pain in the ass, not caring who he hurts in the process, simply because it's funny. That's being the comic relief of the group. Someone who's so dedicated to his shtick, he doesn't care if he ends up hurting people in the process. Again, at least that's how he sells himself to the other members of the circus. But the last two episodes, we start to see that there's more to his character than that. For instance, in episode 5, we see that Jax asks Pomni, in her opinion, if she thinks Gangle is capable of being happy, and if Gangle believes her relationship with Zooble can magically fix her, make her happy, even when her comedy mask is broken. That's something that actually surprises Pomni, and I'm sure it surprises the audience members as well, because why would he care about the happiness of the person he picks on the most? Well, quite simple actually. See, if Jax was truly this antisocial, uncaring dirtbag, he wouldn't even think to bother asking about someone else's well-being, especially if that person is someone he likes to pick on and targets the most. With Pomni pointing out how she thought Jax was somebody that didn't care what other people like, you can see him tense up a bit, like he noticed his mask was slipping and he quickly puts it back on just by shrugging it off and moving on. We can see more of his mask slipping again in the 6th episode. Jax and Pomni getting paired up for a team, we can see that gives them plenty of time to talk and they're actually getting along with each other. This is easy to understand why, as Pomni being brand new to the circus, this is a clean slate for Jax, which is why I believe the mask is slipping a little easier around Pomni than the other members of the circus. He's able to get along with her, and during the in-house adventure, you can see he's actually enjoying himself. The mask does slip a little bit, but of course he quickly puts it back on, like how after Pomni pointed out that she's learning a lot about him during their discussion about trypophobia. You can see that he tenses up, but he quickly shrugs it off like the conversation is a distraction from the game. And that is Jax just putting on that facade again, because paying attention to him throughout this entire episode, Jax was really enjoying Pomni's company. He clearly likes being around her and he was having fun with her. Jax also didn't seem to mind getting that hug at first, but of course the mask comes back on and he quickly pushes her away. You know what? There's actually this one instance that's actually very fascinating about Jax's character. Even during his crash out, where he claimed to Pomni that if she were to abstract tomorrow, he would just probably move on and forget about her. After seeing her reaction to what he said, you can clearly see the look on his face that he feels bad that he hurt her with how harsh his words were, and he quickly tries playing off like it was a joke she didn't understand. Through these interactions, you can see that Jax is able to care about others and get along with them, but he's always going to put his mask back on when he realizes he's slipping or when he's confronted about something. Like near the end of this episode, Pomni got confused saying she thought that she and Jax were actually bonding by being chaotic evils together, only for him to need to set the record straight. When Pomni asked him if they were still going to be friends after this, he did not hesitate to tell her that they were never friends to begin with. So what's with this crash out and Jax clearly being in denial over? I believe Jax has avoidant detachment, which is a type of coping mechanism designed to push people away. It's sort of like self-sabotaging any relationships you can potentially have with another person as a means to protect yourself because you're afraid of getting close close to somebody and getting hurt because of that attachment. You see opening yourself up to be vulnerable like that as pretty scary, especially if you have some sort of past trauma. Keeping in mind the premise of the show, The Amazing Digital Circus is about a group of humans that somehow ended up trapped within a digital world of the circus, and there's no escape. From Pomni's introduction in the first episode, they almost have put on a headset and their physical bodies cannot remove it, so their subconscious is trapped within this virtual reality. If that's not doom and gloom enough for you, there's a chance of abstraction. Something that happens after someone's mental state declines enough that they risk abstracting, becoming this mindless, glitchy, black mass of eyes. Considering Kane just puts those who abstracts into the cellar of the circus, that's pretty much telling that there's no fixing you once that happens. Who even knows what happens to your real body once your consciousness abstracts? Jax has been in the circus for years, and with those two facts looming over everybody's heads, there's also his past relationship with somebody named Ribbit, a character before Pomni's time that has abstracted. Ribbit seems to be implied to have been really good friends with Jax, considering during the intermission we see in the 5th episode, you see him running to Ribbit's door. When looking into avoidant attachment, it fits Jax with how he minimizes his own attachment needs. Loss, especially traumatic loss, can leave a subconscious impact that will shape somebody's belief about relationships, which then will influence how somebody will approach future connections. For example, a person with avoidant attachment might self-sabotage potential relationships they can have by pushing other people away or prioritizing themselves above all else. That's pretty much what we see with Jax and Pomni in this recent episode. If Ribbit really was somebody Jax cared about, it makes sense that the loss must have impacted Jax pretty hard. Abstraction is the equivalent of death in this world. Going back to episode 5, Pomni even asked Jax if he had any real friends, to which Ragatha, not so quietly, told Pomni not anymore. This reaction from Jax speaks volumes. It's very clear that at one point Jax had somebody that he really cared about very deeply. No doubt losing, for the sake of examples, Ribbit to abstraction has been pretty traumatic for Jax. This isn't the first time we see him get genuinely angry, as Ragatha gets under his skin again in the 6th episode, where she voices her assumption that Jax is trying to get close to Pomni to corrupt her, which, becoming very agitated, he responded in kind by overkilling, pulling the trigger even though his gun was empty. There is another time we do see him get angry like this, and it's when he's yelling at Pomni, but I want to put that point to the side just for a moment and talk about something I feel is a little important for extra context. Now, let's analyze this interaction between Jax and Pomni. This interaction shows how detached Jax is from everything. He embraces what he claims to be self-aware about in terms of what he is, pretty much being in denial that he's still a person. Remember how Jax tells Pomni that they're just single archetype cartoon characters, that there's no point in holding on to that part of you from the real world because where does that actually get you considering you're trapped in the circus? During his crash out, Jax makes it clear he doesn't care about anybody in the circus, that he sees everybody as playthings for him to hurt and make miserable for his own joy. At least he's trying to make it clear, because honestly, in this scene, who is he trying to convince, Pomni or himself? The audience can tell he's not entirely being truthful because we've already witnessed a couple instances where he's shown to care about somebody or at least feel a twinge of remorse over how his actions affected them, even trying to take it back or minimize the impact in his own obnoxious way. The way he was going off, that was how he was selling his denial by dehumanizing the other members of the circus. It's similar to how people play, let's use Dishonored as an example. In this game, it's player's choice whether they can be a low chaotic or a high chaotic assassin. Players of this game can justify what they're doing because these are just NPCs, so let's cause as much mayhem as possible because they find it entertaining. It's not real, so there's no point in strict morality if they want to be a high chaos player. I believe this is his mentality on how Jax is approaching everything, that he's this chaotic player in a video game where he can just do whatever he wants and it doesn't matter because, as he says to Pomni, we're not real people anymore. He wasn't just reminding her that the point of the game was to shoot at each other and that there's no point in having the moral high ground. He was also telling her that they were just cartoon characters that eventually fall into their archetypes, so what's the point of pretending that they're not? Jax is just all for embracing the existence of just being that cartoon character. That's the level of denial and detachment for reality that he's in. It's his way of disassociating, if you will. Looking back at his crash out, Pomni called Jax out on his BS that he was the one that reached out to her and not the other way around, which he tries to gaslight her by saying that she must be misremembering, but she continues to call him out for being afraid to show any emotion, which he is. He's afraid of being vulnerable around people, and he's afraid of getting too close to other people because he's afraid of suffering the same loss and trauma over Ribbit. When you're in a bleak situation where your fate is unavoidable, you tend to create some type of coping mechanism to help you survive the harsh reality. Jax being avoidant attachment, he's pushing people away and treating them terribly so they wouldn't want to get close to him, with his justification that none of this is real so it doesn't matter, and contemplating on things like how your actions hurt other people isn't going to get you anywhere. everywhere. He even justifies being mean to Gangle by telling Ragatha that Gangle likes it when he's mean to her. After the loss of Ribbit, he's clearly given up on the idea of making friends with the others because what's the point? They're just going to abstract eventually, so why set yourself up to get hurt in the future? In episode 6, you can really see this at work when the game is finished after Jax and Pomni have taken out the other teams. Pomni thought there was going to be a mutual betray the others since they were equally down to one life. Jax was like, oh nah, that's cool, you can betray me. Pomni even asked him if she was the one that pulled the trigger, are they still going to be friends? And Jax responded by saying that they were never friends. Even after all the fun they had together, Jax just doesn't want to admit it. He will continuously deny that he cares about anybody and saying that he's not interested in being friends with any of the other people in the circus. Oh yeah, let's go back to what Ragatha said to Jax in episode 6 that made him mad. Like her assumption that she thinks Jax is wanting to corrupt Pomni and he's trying to get close to her in order to do that. Now, looking at this moment and thinking about where Pomni asked Jax if he thought his behavior is what causes people to abstract in the first place, this is something that also gets him angry. He gets angry and starts yelling at Pomni, accusing her of trying to blame him just as everybody else has blamed him. That really got my attention. Jax has got to feel some type of guilt over Ribbit abstracting if he feels other blames him for it. His agitated reaction to Pomni and Ragatha's words regarding him corrupting people or people abstracting as a result of his behavior is why I think that. He tells Pomni that she doesn't know what people are like before they abstract, claiming that they are not remotely pleasant to be around. Maybe he has first-hand experience because for you to abstract, there's got to be something really bad with your mental health. You have to be at the lowest state of your mental health, to the point where you are just spiraling. Perhaps Ribbit was spiraling and having a mental health crisis to which Jax did not want to stick around to help them. Being alone with a completely shattered mental state, your mind is going to go to some pretty dark places. It's a possibility that Jax feels guilty and regret for not being there to help his friend when they were at their lowest point of their mental health and they really needed help. He was not there for his friend that was struggling, and his absence, not even trying to help them, was the reason why Ribbit finally abstracted. That type of trauma and guilt, especially in the back of your mind when you believe it's your fault or you believe other people blame you for the terrible thing that happened, yeah, that's gonna mess you up. It can make you not want to get close to other people, making you believe that others are better off without you. That's why he tells Pomni when he answered her question if she were to abstract tomorrow, he would move on and probably forget about her. He wanted to sell her the idea that she means so little to him, but considering he does care about Pomni, when he noticed her reaction, he tries to play it off like he was just kidding. If he truly didn't care, why would he try to brush off his harsh words as a joke when he saw the reaction his words got? This avoidant attachment, this denial that he cares about anybody in the circus, that's how he's mentally surviving. And when you dissect his coping mechanism, it sets him off. When he starts feeling exposed, he starts trying even harder to enforce that he's not something that needs to be cracked open and examined. Because there's nothing more to him outside of the jerk that likes to make people suffer because he gets joy from it. That if he does something, it's for the purpose to hurt you. Obviously, this is a coping mechanism that is extremely toxic and not the healthiest way for him to deal with his mental health issues. Jax is someone that dealt with a traumatic loss, and he's going about coping and protecting himself in a toxic manner that results hurting the people around him, as a means to ensure that they stay away from him, as a means to avoid getting close and attached to somebody, because what's the point? They're going to abstract and he's going to get hurt again. Alright, we're coming to the end of the video, and there is something I want to make clear. It is completely valid to not like a character, even if said character is struggling with their mental health. If somebody's mental health or how they cope with it involves hurting other people, then you are valid for not liking that character. I just want to put that out there. Like, I didn't make this video to guilt trip Jax haters. Like, I have my own experience dealing with avoidant attachment my last 3 years of high school, and I just thought this would be a pretty, fun way to talk about a character I relate to in that regards. If you are fully aware that Jax is struggling with his mental health and you still don't like him because he's hurting the other people, that's valid. You're not ableist for not liking Jax. Anyway, that was my little video on Jax and why I believe he has avoidant attachment. If you really enjoyed this video and you want to see more from me, please hit that subscribe button and don't forget to turn on that bell notification. I live stream every Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Central Time Zone. I don't have a Patreon right now, but if you want to help out the channel financially, my Cash App is in the description. Any amount helps. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye!